Hello, Rowan here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the first time that we're meeting. Today I thought that I would participate in the active flogging of a dead horse. I know everybody has already done this tag and it has been done to death, but I did not make my own, and so I'm going to. Today we are doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 tarot tag that was popularized a couple of months ago, probably like 5 months ago, and started by Kelly Bear. So we are going to be going through 5 tarot decks. I have decided to do 5 decks that have jobs, 4 tarot books or tarot related books, 3 tarot spreads, all of which are spreads that I have made, 2 either tarot habits or tarot paraphernalia. I'm going to be going with paraphernalia, and then 1 either tarot card that you wish to embody or a piece of advice. I have not been reading cards for long enough to be doling out advice to others, so we're going to be doing a card that I wish to embody. So let's go ahead and get started by talking about 5 decks that have jobs. So some of these you may already know about because I have talked about them in my deck collections video, and I've talked about what jobs they do for me in those videos, but we're going to go a little bit more in detail today. So the first deck that I would like to say has a very specific job for me is the Hush Tarot. I struggle with this deck. It is not my favorite. It's difficult to read. It's got a very heavy male gaze that is at times a little bit uncomfortable because it doesn't always contribute anything, but the artwork is absolutely stunning. I love the artwork even if I don't love it as a tarot deck. And while in some ways I do regret impulse purchasing this deck when I did, I am still happy to have it. And so I have given it a very specific job to sort of force myself to use it more often. So I use this deck for communication with my divine masculine energy, my inner masculine. And more specifically, I use this deck with my work with the horned god Cernunnos. So anytime I'm trying to really get in touch with my inner wild side, my inner weed, my inner forest, the animal part of me, my lower self, however you want to word that, anytime I'm trying to get in touch with my inner, my own masculinity, with my own edge, I guess, with the parts of me that I really feel are not feminine, the parts of me that are more rugged, more rough. This is the deck that I reach for. And when I say rugged and rough, I don't necessarily mean shadow work in any way. I specifically use this deck for working with my masculine energy when my gender is feeling masculine, or if I'm feeling excessively feminine and I feel like I need to balance it, I might reach for this deck. And then most often I use it to communicate with Cernunnos. So that is the Hush Tarot. It's a really pretty deck. I have edged mine in a distressed brown ink, so it does not come with that. That was all me. Jeremy Hush has beautiful artwork, but I really wish he would have put a little bit more effort into making this a cohesive, readable tarot deck, but I love it anyways. So I use this one for masculine workings. On the sort of flip side of that, I have the, one moment, the Intuitive Night Goddess. This one I use even more specifically than the Hush Tarot. This deck I use for Hecate communications. I also use it for shadow work, although to a lesser degree because I have other decks that I like better for shadow work than this one. But yes, this is the deck that I touch base with Hecate, who I consider to be my matron goddess. She is also my primary witchcraft mentor on the spirit realm, or in the spirit realm, on the spirit side of things, on the energetic side of things. And she actually came to me via a different deck, and when I got this deck, so I had a different deck that I do use for divine feminine workings in a more general sense. And that deck, basically, at one point, I was doing a draw with it, and I was touching base with my guides, and I was basically told that there's a mentor who was looking for me. Like, I don't want to go into it, but that's how I interpreted the reading. And then I had been doing research, and I thought that I was being called to Diana or Artemis, but after the reading where I was trying to check in to see who my guides were or what they wanted to tell me, I was basically told that while the Empress, which at the time I was interpreting to be Diana or specifically Diana, I was told that the Empress was present for me, but that I needed to look for the mentor. And I love this Empress card. It is one of my absolute favorites. And so I had been researching Hecate, and just out of curiosity, trying to familiarize myself with a variety of goddesses, just for the sake of, you know, knowing things. And a couple of signs came to me that told me that the mentor who was trying to get my attention was she. And so then I got this deck, and I consecrated it specifically for use with her. So that's the Intuitive Night Goddess. Another deck that I use for goddess work is a newbie to my collection. So if you're seeing this video, you are getting a sneak peek to a video I'm going to make in the future that's all about this deck. And I've already made a little bag for it. The hearts are upside down. We're going to pretend that I did that on purpose so that they look like butts, because this is, and I would like to warn you, this deck does contain nudity and graphic depictions of adult relationships. There are no hard members, I will tell you that, but there is plenty of breasticles. So this is the Erotic Tarot. Actually, I think it's just called Erotic Tarot. I don't think there's a V. As you can see, the backs have fluids depicted on them, or shapes that are reminiscent of fluids. And then it's this neo-modernist sort of quasi-vector art, I think. I mean, I'm not super well informed on styles of art, so this is my interpretation of it. If somebody wiser in the comments wants to tell me how ignorant I am, please go off. But this is a deck that is a pip deck, as you can see, but it is all about relationships with your own body and the bodies of others. It's all about sex. It's all about intimacy. It's all about intercourse, and it's very diverse. It's got a range of skin tones. It's got a range of abilities. It's got a range of body sizes. It doesn't really have a range of ages. I would have liked to have seen more elderly people depicted in this deck. I think there might be one or two cards. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. There might be one or two cards in here that are, that include an elderly person, but mostly these are going to be pictures of people in their 20s or 30s. But it is beautiful. I have been obsessed with it ever since I got it. I love this realistic portrayal of breasts hanging upside down. Like, that's what they do. That's how they look. I love that. I really love this deck. I fell in love with it as soon as I got it. And okay, what does it do for me? I use this deck to communicate with, obviously, like, sexual energy and, like, my own, Tantra or whatever. I haven't used it in that way yet, but I'm not afraid to. I will in the future, almost certainly. But I use this deck to speak to Aphrodite. She is not necessarily my matron goddess, but she's like my boss. Aphrodite is, so I'm an esthetician by trade. I work in the beauty industry. I'm a trained cosmetologist. I can do hair, nails, and skin. I'm also or I used to be, I don't really, camera cut me off, but what I was saying is that I used to even be a makeup artist for weddings, photo shoots, and even a student film at one time. So the beauty industry is kind of what I've been doing my whole life. It started when I was in high school, and I've been doing it in the decade since then as well. So this Aphrodite she's my boss. I have to sort of go through her to get what I want career-wise. So I check in on my career, on my love life, specifically my marriage, and my relationship with Aphrodite using the Erotic Tarot. I first saw, nope. I'm going to make another video where I talk about this deck in more detail, so let me not spoil that by getting ahead of myself. The next deck that has a job in my collection is the Phantasma Tarot by Paulina Fay or Paulina Cassidy, depending on when the deck was printed. She changed her name. I don't know which one's the current one. I have edged this deck in a baby pink. It has worn off quite a bit. You can barely see it. But there is a baby pink there to match the inside of the box. And I use this deck to communicate with specific Fae energies. Now, I don't just mindlessly work with the Fae. I am a scaredy cat, so I have my limits. But I do work with land spirits. I do work with crystal allies, herbal allies. I use this deck to work with whites, so nature whites. I use this deck to work with animal energies specifically, and this is the most important thing this deck currently does for me. I use this to check in with my familiar. I have a cat as a familiar. He used to be alive. He was my first personal pet, and when he passed away, basically, I couldn't not continue to check in on him after he was gone, and so to make sure that I was always able to find him, I bound him to me as a familiar. He does not have to stay with me or where I am. I do have an altar specifically for him where I keep his ashes and some photographs of him, and then a cute little cat bed. He doesn't have to stay there, but he's always invited, and he does help me out with magic. He actually did that in life as well as in death, so I don't feel so bad asking that of him now that he's supposed to be resting. I have checked in on him on multiple occasions, and unfortunately, this does not bode well for how I did as a cat parent the first time around, but he loves being dead. He seems to really enjoy being a spirit. So, yeah, I check on him with this deck. And like I said, I use it to communicate with other Fae-type spirits as well. And that is the Phantasma Tarot. And the last of my 5 decks that have a specific job in my collection is the Modern Witch Tarot. This one just speaks to my inner young adult, my inner teenager, my inner fool. This deck, I use it currently. I might in the future get a different deck that I use for this purpose, but right now, this is the deck that I use for inner child work. Excuse me, this has the extra cards in it. Let me get rid of those. This is a modern deck full of young people. It's diverse without being as diverse as, say, the Erotic Tarot. It's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. It's full of bright colors, cute people, adorable clothes, and it really speaks to my inner 19-year-old in a way that none of my other decks do. So when I need to check on my inner child, my inner teenager, my inner immaturity, this is the deck that I reach for. and I probably don't have to spend a whole lot of time flipping through it. It's been out for a while. It's super popular. Oh, this is the Hermit. This card right here. So I'm a Capricorn. The Hermit is one of the signifiers for my birthday. I'm not going to tell you when my birthday is, but just trust that the Hermit is the signifier for my birthday. And I've always related to this card, even before I knew it was one of my birth cards. And this is one of my favorite depictions of the Hermit. It's just such a relatable image. I just really feel connected to this particular depiction of the Hermit, and this card is what made me want this deck enough to buy it. So that is the Modern Witch Tarot. All right, so those are my 5 decks that do a job. Next, we have 4 books. So I have been a little bit sneaky with this. I have 2 guidebooks. 2 tarot guidebooks, I should say, and then 1 book about tarot and 1 book that mentions tarot. So let's start with the guidebooks. The first one I want to mention is the little white book that comes with the Bianco Nero deck. This is one of the best little white books I have ever had. It is amazing at explaining the actual imagery that is included in these decks. It's got upright and reversed positions plus blurbs that, like I said, describe the imagery. It's just a really good little white book. This is one of the 2 tarot guidebooks that I learned on, and so it has a special place in my heart. So that's the Bianco Nero Tarot Guidebook. The next tarot guidebook is for the Rosebud Tarot. Now, this is an awful guidebook. This is not something that you're going to get any sort of information out of as far as what the cards mean. However, I love the poetry that's in it. Each card has a little blurb of poetry. The poetry is listed on the right-hand page for the majors, and then there's also information about there's upright and reverse meanings, and there's information about the symbolism on the card as well. So I do like that about it, but it only goes that far into detail for the majors. When you get to the minors, I like the way it's got them split up so that all the 2s are together, all the 4s are together, all the 5s are together, all the quarts are together, and then you just find boop boop the 1. However, that means that it gets can you see that? Very little information written, and again, you get keywords and then a little bit of poetry. So I love the poetry that's in this book. I don't think it's great poetry all the time. Some of it's pretty bland, but I thought it was, shall I say, ballsy to make a guidebook that was so unhelpful for reading tarot, but so moving if you already know the system. So the Rosebud Tarot Guidebook. Now, my other 2 books that I want to mention are on my Kindle, because this is the vast majority of my witchcraft books are in here, just because they're cheaper this way and it's easier to carry around a selection. The first book that I want to mention is Queering the Tarot by Cassandra Snow. I am currently reading this, so I cannot give my opinion about whether or not it's great. What I can say is that it's different. I don't necessarily love Cassandra Snow's writing style. I find it a little immature, quite frankly, but that might be a choice. And so I'm not going to pass judgment about it. I don't know if this book was necessary for me to get, having started to read it. And that's why I've sort of stalled out on it, because as a queer person, I have an inherently queer view of the tarot, and I guess I really didn't need to get anything that told me how to read the tarot queerly, because even back when I was just reading this little white book, and the little white book that comes with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, I was already queerifying my interpretations of the tarot. However, this book is really validating. It makes me smile. I love that it exists. And one of these days I'm going to get around to finishing it. I also have Cassandra Snow's book, Queering Your Craft, which is about activist witchcraft, is probably the best way to put it. That one I have read all the way through, and like I said, I don't love Cassandra Snow's writing style. Let me leave it at that. The next book I want to talk about is by Claire Goodchild. Now, she does have a tarot deck, the Antique Anatomy, and with that deck, she did make a guidebook. It's an okay guidebook. It's one of my better ones in my collection, but it's not my favorite. However, her book, the Book of Seances, includes... Here, let me just go to it. Includes card definitions for the traditional interpretation of the card and interpretations for how she personally reads these cards with regards to spirits. And while I don't love all of her interpretations for myself, I do love that this exists. She also includes spreads in this book. She includes information about other types of divination, but the amount of time that she spends on tarot in this book surprised me when I first read it, and quite frankly, it made me set the book down for a long time because I was in the mood to read about witchcraft. I was trying to get out of a tarot burnout rut, and so coming upon all of the tarot card definitions really pushed my limits, and so I had to set this book down and read something else for a couple of weeks before I got over my burnout and was able to come back to it. But yeah, that's a book that surprised me with its inclusion of the tarot. So that is the Book of Seances by Claire Goodchild. And then we get to talk about 3 spreads. Like I said, all of the spreads are ones that I invented myself. I came up with these for specific questions when some of my friends had me read for them. I put these spreads together, and I've got them here in my tarot analyses and tarot studies and analyses book that I have made for myself. So this is the first spread that I want to talk about. So this is a simple 6-card spread that I use for shadow work. And this is basically a 2-trait comparison spread. The first card that sits on the top is a trait that needs to be brought forward. So this could be a trait that you are not dealing with enough, a trait that you are perhaps repressing in yourself, or just a trait that you didn't know was a positive one that you needed some validation on, and it sits at the very top. Then next, or underneath it on the left, we have how it helps you, and on the left we have how, or on the right, excuse me, I was in theater, and so my left and right are perpetually messed up. Thank you, high school. But on the right, we have how to use it. And then we come all the way down to the bottom here for a trait to honor less. So this might be something we're indulging in too much. This could be a trait that's always bad for us. This could be a trait that we know is bad for us and we're actively trying to work beyond it. Or perhaps this is just something that I've been spending a lot of time on and it's time to set it aside. And that also has, above it on the left, it has how it hurts you, and then on the right it has how to overcome it. So that is a 6-card shadow work spread for traits that I came up with. The next one that I want to talk about is a modification of one that I believe I got from Lisa Pepez. This spread I used to call CPR Plus, but then I decided that calling it that just made it confusing for me because there were certain words that I used to get that initialization, and they were unnecessarily confusing. So now I don't have a name for this spread. I've just decided to let that part of it go. I stopped naming my spreads, as you can see. And so this one just has 4 cards that gets pulled, and it's got the crutch at the very top. It's got the wound underneath the crutch to the left. It's got the medicine for the wound off on the right. And then on the bottom, the 4th card is the aftercare. So this is another shadow work spread, but it's a little bit less involved than the one up here. And it's a little bit more healing and supportive because it's not so focused on what you're doing wrong. It's more so what is wrong, what's ailing you. And so when I'm doing some introspective shadow work type stuff, I will use this spread, especially if I know that something's wrong, but I can't pinpoint it. So that one's good. The next one, the third and final spread that I want to show, is this one up here. This is a tweak on another Lisa Pepez spread. This is a relationship spread that I made for a friend of mine. I did not know, she came to me asking for a reading about her relationship, and I didn't know if she was in a, well, okay, she came to me asking for a reading about her love life, and I didn't know if she was in a relationship or not. So I went ahead and made a spread that could be used whether you were or were not currently in a relationship, or whether there was another person, I should say. Like, this is a spread that's just about the querent. It's not about a third party. It's not about a subject. It's just the querent. So we've got, in position 1, we have the querent's needs in a relationship, and underneath that in position 2, we have what the querent wants in a partner. So wants and needs stacked together. Position 3 is current options on the table. So this represents what the dating field looks like for you. This could refer to a partner that you already have, someone you're talking to, or it could refer to something coming up. Number 4 is current red flags or threats to your romantic life. This could be traits that you carry. This could be actions you're taking. This could be exterior parties or the perception of other people and how they influence. So that is position number 4. And then we have another stacked 5 and 6, and these represent, number 5 is the best case scenario of what is currently on the table, and number 6 is the worst case scenario of what's currently on the table. And then number 7 is advice for how to deal with balance and navigate the best and worst options. So this is a relationship spread, whether you are in a relationship or not. This can be used for platonic stuff, but it's mostly intended to be romantic. I have other spreads that are a little bit better for platonic relationships. But that one is one that I'm very proud of and that I have used a couple of times since I invented it. So that is the 3 spreads. Next, we get to do 2 pieces of paraphernalia. So the first bit of paraphernalia that I would like to talk about is my collection of oils and incense sticks, I guess, is the way to put it. I don't want to call them smudge sticks because the practice is not smudging. That's really appropriative to say because, like, I can't smudge things. I don't know the ritual to smudge things. But I've got lavender, I've got juniper and cedar, I've got some Palo Santos, some sandalwood, I've got a little bit of desert sage, and rue. I also have rosemary, but it is in another room right now. Then I have a collection of rollerball oils. These I cannot use around my apartment because they all have cat toxic ingredients in them, which is why they are in their own little baggie at the bottom of my entire thing. I take these out and I put them in my purse to use on the go is how I use these. I've just got a cinnamon one in my purse right now, and these are the other 3 that I have. Then the rest of these oils are not made by me, but they are concoctions from one of my local metaphysical shops, excuse me, and I have slowly accumulated quite a few of them. I have goddess oil. I have 2 of them because this vial is almost completely out. Oh, let me hold it so you can see. There's approximately 3 drops left in it, but I use every drop because these oils are expensive. So then I've got another goddess oil. I have one for the horned god. I have one for Hecate, Aphrodite, and then I have some for various star signs of people that I love and myself. So I have all of my, so I've got my sun, this one should be my moon. Yes, my moon, my rising. And then I've got ones for my partner, my parents, etc. So these oils are, oh, and over here we've got a protection oil. This is pure lavender essential oil. This is the only essential oil in here. The rest of these are infusions. But we've got the pure lavender, and then we have a protection oil that I don't know how to pronounce. Acetate? Oil acetate, perhaps? I bought this one before realizing it was a cultural thing, and it's probably a practice that I am not trained in any way. I bought this before I realized that I did not have the know-how to properly use it, so I apologize. The way that I use this is just the same as the way I use my other oils. I don't know the cultural significance of this oil. I don't know if there is one. I don't know if me using it is appropriative, but it smells really good, and I use it for protection. I just won't buy it again until I have the answers. I've got a friend of mine, actually, who I need to ask her if she knows anything about it. So that is my box of oils. I do consider this all to be one paraphernalia because I keep it all together and because I have another paraphernalia that I want to talk about. So I'm perhaps cheating a little bit, but I don't care. The next thing that I want to mention is actually, it's not a tool that I use for tarot, but it's tarot related. I don't know if paraphernalia is the right word, but it's a tarot item, and it is this beautiful portrait made by a girl I went to high school with. Her name is Janie. I don't know if she's currently making art under her legal name or under a pseudonym, so I'm just gonna say her name is Janie. I don't remember her last name because it has changed, and her old handle that she used on Instagram years ago, she doesn't seem to use the Instagram much, but she goes by the Inked Maiden there. And this is a print from a tarot deck that she made, and I was not into tarot at the time that this released, and so I did not purchase it. Instead, I just purchased a couple of prints that I really liked. This is actually her in this portrait. This is Janie. She does not have a third eye physically on her forehead, so that is some artistic license that she took. However, this is her. And this is, I also have a sun print as well for the sun card, but the Hermit one means a lot more to me, in part because it is a portrait of her, and in part because the Hermit is one of my birth cards, and it is the card in the tarot that I most associate with for myself. So this is one of my prized possessions, and as soon as this queen makes another fucking tarot deck, I'm gonna buy it. And if she ever wanted to gift me her a copy, perhaps she's got an extra copy of her old tarot deck sitting around, I wouldn't say no to it. I honestly should have mentioned her and her creations in my hashtag aspirational tarot video, because my deck or collection would not be complete if I could not have one of her works in it. So that's very important to my practice. It goes on the wall in my living room. Now, finally, we are going to end off with, let me move some stuff out of the way here. You can see I'm wearing my robe again. The final thing that I want to talk about in this 54321 tag is the card that I want to most embody, the card that I most want to live up to. And rather than just showing you one instance of the card, I'm going to show you my entry in my tarot studies notebook about the card. So the tarot card that I most want to embody through my life is the 10 of Pentacles. As an earth sign, I really relate to the Pentacle suite, and I thought I was, or suit, excuse me. I thought I was going to talk about the Queen of Pentacles, but when I went to analyze the cards that I had here, the 10 of Pentacles is just, it's the one. This is a card that to me is not about having a, like, okay, so in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith depiction of the card, you can barely see it there, but it's a guy, an old guy, sitting outside of a family estate with a bunch of people, and then all the pentacles forming the Sephiroth around the image. There's a brighter, non-original, but close enough version of it there. That's actually the Modern Witch Tarot. This is a card that speaks to legacy to me, and I have no desire to have children. As a gender fluid person, I feel like the experience of pregnancy would probably be way too dysphoric for me to experience, to go through and survive. And quite frankly, there are certain people in this world who are meant to be parents, and I don't think I'm one of them. I just cannot see myself being the mother that a child of mine would deserve. So we don't. Me and my husband, neither of us want children. We are fundamentally selfish people, and we would like to be able to continue to live that way up until it kills us. So no kids, but I do have this obsession with leaving something behind. I want to pursue writing. I want to pursue visual arts. I'm currently working on, like, I'm constantly collaging, practicing watercolor. I'm not good at these things, but maybe someday I will be if I keep it up. And I think I've got good ideas. It's just I don't have the skills to execute them yet. So I am really obsessed with this idea of having something that when I am gone, other people can use to connect to my existence. Not because my existence is important inherently, but because all existences are important, because every life is worth remembering. Every life has something to teach us. Every single being on this planet that experiences existence has something special to share with the rest of us if only we take the time to open our senses and experience it as well. The 10 of coins to me speaks of what you leave behind when you're gone. The 9 of coins is all about you've got it. You have obtained the things that you need and want in this life. And the 10 of coins takes that one step further and says you have obtained things that you will not be able to take with you, but which will last after you're gone. And I really hope to embody that ideal. I want to be able to touch lives whether I am here or not. And I want, even if it's only a handful of people that I impact, I know that that's meaningful. And I would rather impact a handful of people deeply. And it's very possible that I'm never going to get to see that while I am here. It is very possible that nobody is going to appreciate the things that I make until I'm gone. And I have to create knowing that I might not get to see the fruits of my labor. And I have to be okay with that. And that is the energy that the 10 of coins is all about for me. So that is the card that I personally would like to embody. And that brings us to the end of the 54321 tarot tag. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. I hope I did not ramble on too long about any one thing and that we kept the pace going. I do apologize for the questionable light. It's a very overcast day and I'm filming right in front of a window. So we're a little blue here, but that's okay. I thank you again for watching, and I would like to remind you, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment down below if you have any answers to any of these tags, or if you own any of these decks and use them in a different way. If you have any paraphernalia that is similar to mine or different from mine, please comment down below. Feel free to make your own VR, although you've probably already made one at this point. That's fine. I'm not going to tag anyone. Just because, again, this is a dead horse that I am currently walking on top of, but nobody invited me to the piñata party in the first place. So, thank you. Thank you. Y'all have an amazing day. I will see you next time. Mwah! I love you. Bye.